My ex-wife trying to get me back by using our daughters to convince me. Doesn't really sound like a big problem, right? Yeah, well, while I wish I could just plain tell her to piss off and never bother me again, there is the matter of us having 2 daughters and sharing custody, so I can't excise her from my life on a permanent basis. Not without removing our daughters too. We married fairly early in our lives, back when we were 20, and we had been dating for 3 years before that. Our daughters were born in the very first year of the marriage, and there were some complications which meant my ex-wife would have difficulty conceiving again. Didn't matter to me at the time, because I was just glad she made it healthy and fine through the whole ordeal and that we already had 2 beautiful baby girls to love and raise up. The marriage lasted for 9 years. Ended when I divorced her for cheating. I have absolutely no tolerance for it, and I don't believe in forcing myself to suffer needlessly for shit that wasn't my fault to begin with. While this might sound incredulous to some folks, any love I had for my ex-wife was pretty much killed when I found out about her cheating and the details behind it. So yeah, this isn't a threat about me moving on from her. I've done that 7 years ago. Hell, I don't even hate her. I just don't give a damn about what goes on in her life unless it concerns our daughters. The problem is that it's only me that moved on from the whole thing. The ex-wife, her family, and even our daughters, have kept trying to get us back together, even though I have made it plain for everyone that I have no interest of ever doing that. Me not dating at first for a few years after the divorce might have been giving them false hope, but I sure as fuck wasn't going to jump into another relationship so soon after. Not with our daughters to look after. They were my #1 priority, besides my own issues which stemmed from the ex's cheating. Those issues, by the by, got resolved with the help of friends, family, and some counseling. So yeah, that's over and done with. I have no issue in communicating with our girls. None whatsoever. Anything else? They can understand it just fine. There's never been any fighting, no yelling, no nonsensical teenage rebellion, thus far, no tantrums thrown and so on. Pretty great, right? Except this whole thing. They know about her cheating on me, and it was their mother in fact who told them about it, some 3 years ago or so. I imagine she's been feeding them some kind of bullshit since then, and I've asked her countless times to stop with it, that it wasn't helping anyone, that it only prevented them from moving on. But the ex-wife didn't stop. She apparently just got subtler about it. In all the years since we divorced, she hasn't dated or slept with anyone else. While I suppose she thinks that admirable, I don't. To be honest, I find it kind of insulting. When we were married, she fucked someone else, but now she's just fine going without sex for 7 years. Whatever, not that it matters. While I could ignore the occasional mentions of their mother, of how well she looks, of them showing me photos they took with her, obviously all dolled up for my sake, it's gotten worse lately. Why? Because I have a girlfriend. Clemence is not the first since the divorce, but she is the most serious relationship I had since my marriage ended. She also happens to be 8 years my junior. Before getting together as a couple, we knew each other for 4 years through a shared hobby. So basically it was a gradual transition from being friends to being involved with each other. I can honestly say I love this woman. It was a surprise to me when I realized that, because while I didn't really want to admit it to myself, I was afraid for a time that what my ex-wife did to me damaged me on some fundamental level and rendered me incapable of ever truly loving someone else, like I once did her. Initially, my daughters had very little to say about our relationship, much like they didn't comment anything on the previous 2 I had post-divorce. But then they started coming home, ahead of the schedule we set up in advance, and they'd find me and Clemence together, nothing compromising, not sex or anything of the sort. Then came the grumbling, then came the why is she here? Question. Then came it's not fair to mom what you're doing. As if I was actually doing this solely to spite or hurt their mother. So I sat them down and talked. And I talked, but they're just not getting it. They simply won't give up on this preposterous fantasy of theirs where I get back with their mother. Clemence, thank God, has been understanding and isn't upset by their behavior. She's basically saying to give them time, but I kind of doubt that will work. It hasn't so far, so I have no idea why more time would change anything. Anyway, since I'm really all out of ideas, I figured I might as well ask you folks here if any one of you might have an idea how to handle this. Is there even a way, an approach of any sort, that could work on my daughters realizing I will not, under any circumstances, get back with their mother? Edit. I have tried telling them dozens of times, that while her mother and I are on good terms, it's only for them and not for us, at least not on my end. It just doesn't seem to be reaching them at all. Like I've said in other responses, I brought up her cheating to explain why I don't want to be with their mother and they already knew about it. But, they keep using the same approach every time of how she's faithful to me now. When I pointed out to them that she can't be faithful to me given that we're not together, to begin with, they just ignore that. Now, here's the thing that I think is messing with their minds. They never saw their mother as anything but loving towards me or them. Or at least they don't remember it if they did see her acting coldly and distant with me during her affair. And yes, it was an affair, not just a one-time thing. Not that I wouldn't have divorced her either way. She was very much the opposite of loving in the bedroom. They never really saw that, nor should they have. My approaches for intimacy were often rebuffed and I felt more and more dejected until one day I realized, with the help of a very close and very good friend, that there was nothing wrong with me and therefore something had to be wrong with her, which is what led me to discover the affair because I started looking for reasons why our love life had suddenly dropped so much in quality and quantity. And it wasn't just sex. There were the small things missing from our daily lives too. I know it sounds silly, but we always kissed at the front door, in plain sight, before either of us went to work. That's something that only now in retrospect became plain to see. That was missing. Bottom line is, their mother denied me even the most basic of affection while giving it to someone else outside of our marriage. To me, that's unforgivable. They don't understand that. They couldn't, Not even if I told them, which I rather not. And how hurtful it can be when you realize that your spouse didn't really give a damn about you all that much. So all the regret and remorse and pining for us to get back together? To me, it's worthless. What's the point? Where was all this supposed love and guilt and remorse when it should have mattered? They seem to think that us two being together would soon override any unhappiness on my part. They can't really understand what it's like when you can't trust your partner, your spouse at that. God, I hope they never have to understand that. I would never wish for either of them to be cheated on. Now, I have talked with my ex-wife about this on numerous occasions, possibly 100 times by now, about not bringing our adult lives and messing up our daughters. In one ear and out the other, as they say. Now, despite my initial apprehension, I will end up talking with them about how their mother's cheating impacted me. I'm not even doing it for myself at that point, but what another user here has said about how they're internalizing this as their way to love has certainly got me worried. I have to make them understand that being cheated on or cheating on someone is not something to be taken lightly or just shrugged off. Regarding Clemens, she's not trying to be a mother figure to them, at all. She knows there are only 12 years of difference between them, and that's not really enough for them to see her as a mother figure. Not to mention, Clemens has no intentions of usurping their mother's place, to begin with. Her approach is to just basically wait it out until they stop hoping for their mother and me to get back together, and then eventually, somewhere down the line, the relations between them will be comfortable enough to spend more and more time around each other, which is, if all things go as expected, is going to happen sooner or later. And to be fair, my daughters are not exactly being pissy, nor are they disrespectful up in her face or behind her back. Hell, they don't actually hate her from what I've gathered. They just prefer me to be back with their mother, that's all. Update. It's been a while since I was first here and I was reminded recently that I owed an update to the kind and good people here who helped me with our troubles. A lot of things have happened. Among those things, my daughters actually stumbled across my post. I had no idea they even browsed Reddit, let alone this place. When I came home one day from work I found them crying. They pretty much jumped me, hugged me, wouldn't let me go, and begged me to forgive them. Sadly, they had read one of my replies and found out the dreadful extent of my ex-wife's affair and how much it had devastated me. It took us a while, but we got through it, as a family. There was nothing for me to forgive. They're still young and they love their mother, who took that love and used it to manipulate them. That's on her, not them. There was some much needed counseling, but after several months, the woman who was helping us heal and move on has said that nothing more needed to be done, and they should only check in with her once in a while, rather than continue their weekly sessions. We're closer than we were before, but their relationship with their mother has suffered for it, which I think is completely understandable, but I still caution them about lingering too much on what she did, since I had gotten over what she did all those years ago. That was something also resolved in counseling, both their own and our shared ones, so it's all behind us now. I had a brief confrontation with my ex-wife about it and made it clear that she was to not talk about this getting back together nonsense anymore with our daughters. I can't tell if it really got through to her, but my daughters have not been pestered about me since then, or they simply ignore their mother and don't bring it up at home. Either way, so long as my daughters are doing fine, I could care less about what my ex-wife is doing. Since the situation had improved, things had also become much better between my daughters and my girlfriend, so much that they actually started talking with her, rather than just exchange terse greetings and goodbyes, even occasionally asking for tips on something, girly stuff, of course, and I can't tell you how much it warmed my heart to see it happening for the first time. I'll admit that also helped me push my thoughts in the direction of proposing to my girlfriend, who had been incredibly supporting and understanding through all of this. We had known each other for a long time now, spent so much time as a couple, and after all this mess, I didn't really think there was anything more I could do to express my love for her. However, I was beaten to the punch. 2 months ago, Clemens, together with my daughters, surprised me one day and proposed to me. I have to say that I felt very odd, but also very happy. Not just the proposal, but that my daughters had actually worked with my girlfriend on surprising me that day with dinner and a night out. To put it simply, I was blown away. It was a small and private ceremony, with only our closest friends and family attending. Currently, we're also expecting, and my daughters are looking forward to having a baby brother or sister to spoil. Now on to the next story. Story 2. I refused to talk my sister, so my mom ambushed me with an intervention. Background: I started dating my brother's best friend when I was 16. We were together until I graduated high school when he proposed and I rejected it. There was a lot of drama, with my family asking me to reconsider because we could have a long engagement or make a promise to reconcile. My relationship with my brother, 36, suffered for a while, but the one with my sister, 32, never recovered. She was sure my ex was the best fit for me and became unbearable when she started dating my ex's brother. My ex was invited everywhere by my siblings, even to some family holidays, but I didn't say anything since he was their friend too. That is until my sister started to push for us to get back together. My sister did everything from trying to get us on blind dates to making us share a room during holidays. No matter the occasion, my ex was invited to it. After a while I had enough and asked my parents to intervene. They were clear with my siblings and stopped inviting my ex to things or allowing him to tag along so much. It was slightly better, but while my brother backed off, my sister didn't. It all came to a crash when I met my husband during a semester abroad. He was from another university but the same country and we just clicked. It was magical for me and we got engaged after dating for a year. My family was very happy for me, except my sister. She kept insisting I was in the honeymoon phase and will grow out of it. I clearly didn't, and after many, can't express enough how many fights and attempts to reunite me with my ex, I simply let her know if she pulled anything again I will stop talking to her. What does she do after that warning? Makes me her mo and requests I spend all my time with the bridal party, aka my ex, and sets one of her friends as my husband's date. We didn't realize until we were at the reception and the poor girl tried to make a pass at my husband. My sister said that since we are not married it was okay to explore things with other people. I left the party and the next day spoke with my parents and brother. Explained that while I won't make them choose I will not talk to my sister ever again, and if they try to fix stuff between us I will simply cut contact with them too. My mom was devastated and tried to negotiate, but my dad and brother said they would respect my decision, and apart from 2 attempts from my mom I haven't spoken, written, or anything with my sister in the past 6 years. My sister has tried everything to reconcile with me, from gifts to tantrums, but I simply don't talk to her at all. If we are at a family event or dinner I simply act like she doesn't exist. At first she made snarky comments or tried to create drama, but since nobody backed her up she gave up. She did have a meltdown when she was informed she was invited to my wedding but would not be part of any preparation. My brother says he feels guilty for going along with it for so long, and his relationship with my ex has suffered since my ex. They still talk but they are not as closed anymore. The issue, my mom's birthday was couple weeks ago and I finally announced we are expecting our first child. This is not the first grandchild but is the first granddaughter. Everybody was very happy except my sister. My mom noted that and asked me for tea the other day. My sixth sense told me not to go but I wanted to be positive. The first thing I noticed when I arrived was my sister's car. Then as I entered the door there was my sister, her husband, my ex and my ex-meal. They wanted to have an intervention since my childish tactic has gone for so long. My ex said that he was just trying to be romantic but he understands I couldn't appreciate it. His mom said I was just hurting my sister for wanting the best for me and she apologized already, so I need to forgive her. I was just sending texts to my family, dad, brother, husband, and looking at my mom in disbelief. My Bill had the balls to tell me I was a hurtful person and I need to learn how to act like an adult since I'm having a baby now. Then my mom began reading a letter about how hurt she was her daughters weren't close, how my sister was wrong but she was well intended, etc. Then my sister read her letter and began crying and telling me basically another version of what the rest did. I said nothing to anybody, just sat there until my brother arrived. He was angry beyond anything I've ever seen before. He grabbed my stuff and told them all he was really disappointed and disgusted. We went outside and sat in his car until my dad and husband arrived. By then I was just sobbing and he kept saying sorry. I am unsure what happened in there but I sent everybody, except mom, an email with my lawyer's number info attached and stated I don't wish to be contacted by any of them ever again, and if they do I will go to the police. Nobody has contacted me but I know from my dad my mom and sister are hysterical. They told him they hope to repair things and for my sister to be able to be on my baby's life, maybe possibly being a godmother. My dad is staying with my brother at the moment. They support me but some others in the family don't. I've had mutual friends call me since they are worried about my sister's well-being and asking me what happened since she is now going by the narrative my husband is keeping me away from my family. I hate having my business in public but I did go the public route and posted a long FB post about everything that happened. Sister, Bill and ex are being dragged, which even if it wasn't 100% intended I feel is deserved. Now, my mom has been inconsolable, which does make me feel bad but not as bad as she made me feel with her little intervention. I agreed to have a talk with her a couple of days ago and laid the ground rules for any possible future interaction, including therapy, family therapy, clear boundaries, no sharing information about me with my sister, and separate holidays. Most important, if she ever pulls anything like this again she will for sure be cut off. She feels this is too much but is willing to do it. She thought it meant immediate access to baby news and it is all solved, but I told her it is a process and she needs to prove she has improved. My dad and brother refused to talk to my sister and they keep apologizing for not stopping it earlier. We've forgiven them since they were able to move on and grow. My husband supports whatever I decide but my Mill is unsure cutting my mom's access to her granddaughter is the way to go but says it is ultimately my decision. I am torn about what to do with my mom. Edit. I wanted to post but couldn't. I want to thank you for the amount of support and advice so far. I want to give a little more info that is in my comments since there are too many for me to answer them all individually. My ex and I broke up when I was 18. He is 37 now. The reason for our breakup was that I didn't want to get married or engaged. My sister's insistence comes from the fixation of wanting the both of us to marry brothers and being best friends. My mom has always been so nice to my husband but I am beginning to think it was all a facade, which makes me very sad. My ex has been with people since the breakup. He also has 2 kids with an ex but he's never been married. My sister says that is a very romantic thing to do since he has only ever wanted to marry me. I should also mention his obsessive behavior is not only with me. I know from the grapevine he was very similar with the mother of his children but now he is refocusing on me because my sister is encouraging it since she needs his help on getting back in my good graces so she can be a good aunt. My brother did start to cut him off when I told my parents I was very uncomfortable with my ex around all the time. I was living away for college but would visit my family during breaks. He also made a very big effort to make my husband feel welcome, which deteriorated his relationship with my ex even more because he felt betrayed by my brother. Nowadays my husband is one of my brother's closest friends and he only speak with my ex when it's about our nephew, sister's son, or to not be rude. Both my parents seem to be supportive of me not wanting to be around my ex so much, but I guess only my dad was in agreement. On the day of the tea party my mom told him she was making me my favorite tea and sweets but he couldn't stay since we would have quality time together. My dad left to go hang with my uncle since he thought it was a nice sentiment from my mom. He is very pissed off. My husband tried very hard with my sister when they met but now he just ignores her and believes she is mentally unwell. We don't know if she is or not. Still there is no excuse for how she behaves. They invited the ex and his mom because they thought it would be good for me to face the root of my issues with my sister. Or at least is their official version. Also, we are not Indian, not really religious. My husband and I are from the same race. There is also no wealth disparity between my ex and my husband. If there is it would be in favor to my husband. Lastly, My sills, both my brother's wife and husband's sisters, are enraged about the situation. My husband and his sisters will be talking with their mom about her comment. My brother and his wife are considering going NC with my mom permanently. In the meanwhile, they will not allow her to see my nephews for a bit. The more I read, the more I think I might have to go NC with my mom for the sake of my kid. My husband is heartbroken to think all their interactions were faked, but says he is even more enraged she made me cry and doubt I was a good person. I realize there are still countless conversations to have with my family about my mom, but I will definitely be going for a restraining order against my sister and the ex. Update 1. The state of my family so far. I had a conversation with my mother, but she insists she knew best. I am a bad person and she will be getting grandparents' rights or even custody. I am nothing what she says, but I still panic, so we sent her a letter about it. My dad moved out definitely. He told her that he could not sign on her terrorizing his kid. My brother and his wife also decided to go NC. I know it seems very sudden, but I think I undersold the level of despair I had after the intervention. My husband told them afterward they had to think very well about what they appreciated and to be kind and receptive to everything, but would not raise a kid on a toxic environment. Reason 3,271,637 why I love my husband. My husband is very heartbroken about my mom and her fakeness. He says she will never get anything from him. That is as much as revenge goes here. My husband and sisters talked to my mill about her comment and made her understand why it was very out of it. As many of you assume, she is a very loving mom, from a loving family. My dad and brother keep apologizing for any role they played on this. My dad can't believe it went to this point. He says it is still surreal for him. Regardless, they support me no matter what and say they are willing to help me fight whatever ridiculous fight my mom or Cider put. Final update. I want to thank the lovely messages and encouraging words. I decided to post it here so it wouldn't be deleted like the original was. Things are great and horrible at the same time, but I'm trying to remain positive about everything. My brother and his wife sat my nephews down and explained that grandma was ill and tried to hurt Annie Diamond and a little cousin. They explained grandma would not be part of their lives anymore, but that doesn't mean she doesn't love them. It was really hard, but the kids are smart. They were also told other Ann is no longer in their life, but they don't care because they dislike her. Not because of me alone, simply because she is not exactly great with them either. My mom lost it when she was informed and started claiming she had rights and she will get to see her grandchildren. My dad is looking for a permanent place but will stay with us until January, mainly due to my brother's mill coming to visit and we having the space. He is really sad, has called divorce lawyers already, moved bank stuff, etc. He has been getting countless emails, messages and calls from my mom, but he doesn't reply to anything. The lawyer told him to not block her right now. He considered maybe forgiving her, but I got a huge spike on my blood pressure a couple days after my last post here because she decided to come to my place with my sister. My sister had never been to my home. My mom knew I didn't want her there, but I guess that doesn't matter anymore. The cleaning lady let them in since she knows my mom, and I haven't had the time to inform her she was not allowed to come in anymore. I was just coming from some errands and I saw the car. This time I didn't get in. I called all of my relatives and my husband's sister was the one closer to me. She confronted them and told them either they leave if I call the police on them for trespassing. They left and I started feeling bad. We went to the doctor and they told me all the excitement was not good and I needed to start relaxing or it would hurt the baby. My dad went home with my brother, uncle and my husband and took every single thing he could think of. My husband says my sister was there too and she kept screaming at him that he destroyed her family. My dad told my mom and sister they almost killed the baby and he also doesn't want to talk to any of them again. My sister kept sending messages to my brother, begging for help, but is not happening. I am devastated and very sad for my nephew since he is losing so much of his family because his mother has some wacky ideas, but it is what it is. As per the custody and grandparent rights my mom wants to throw around so much, my lawyer sent her a letter stating she caused harm to my health and the baby, and if she keeps harassing me it will become an official legal matter. My brother also sent her a letter using her harassing of me. Both, mom and sister, have refused to go to therapy. They might be mentally ill, but with all of this coming to light it is obvious they have been in agreement for a long time. I will focus on spending the holidays with my family, being healthy and going to therapy.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed these stories, be sure to check out our other videos and leave a comment with your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss an update. See you next time on our channel, where the best Reddit stories come to life.